Your Portland Trailblazers did not win a game in the month of February.
0-9.
0-9, Bob. They lose to the Miami Heat. They had a double-digit lead last night. Not that that matters that much in the NBA anymore. And then DeAndre Ayton sprained his hand with an awful, just nasty fall with Kevin Love. And basically they crumbled after that. Ayton's been probably one of the few, if not only, bright spots of this team for the better part of a few weeks. And he goes out, and what happens? Well, nothing. Portland's not very good, even
Miami
with it.
cranked up the defense. They shoved everything to Anthony Simons, who rebounded with a good first half. He hit like his first 3 threes.
Yeah.
And then they just said, okay, we're just running everybody at him and daring somebody else to beat us.
And that's what you got to do when Portland is sitting like this. It is one of the things. I have been a little underwhelmed with Ant this year, but it is absolutely a thing you have to admit out loud is like sometimes he's on the court with guys that you never heard. Ashton Hagans is on the court with him, and you're like,
yeah.
I hope that guy can hit a shot.
Toumani Camara was the go-to guy there for a little while.
He was the only one getting buckets for a minute, and he didn't even shoot that good a percentage.
Bless him, and I love his effort and his hustle and doing all the little things, but if he's all of a sudden your number 2 option, that's not a good thing.
It's a bit of a problem.
He hit 2 threes last night.
Yeah, well, that's few and far between.
No, he doesn't hit many. That was more of a positive that doesn't happen very often for him.
He was trying to be the thorn in the side of Bam Adebayo. That didn't go very well either.
Hey, max effort by Hagans, though. I'm trying to find the positives in this season, and if the Blazers are just going to take the final 20 or so games or whatever just to look at young kids like this, hey, find 1,000% effort guys like Hagans, bring them in. I don't mind giving them a run.
Well, here's the thing about them. I would assume DA is going to be out now. I don't know what the timeline is.
I guess they need to see if bones are broken, he's going to be out for a while. If it's just a sprain, then the swelling will go down. Then they'll figure out how much pain he can take and how it affects him shooting and rebounding.
We'll see what they do with Malcolm. Danny has talked about Jeremy Grant as a guy that's been dealing with some nagging injuries that maybe he'll eventually get shut down. I mean, this thing is already bad with some of these guys playing. It's only going to get worse. And what's interesting to me is Richmond said this on his pod, and I've agreed with it for a couple weeks now, if you can't tell based on how I talk about the Blazers.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing to be tanking, Schultze, and to be aiming for draft capital, okay?
Yeah.
That's obviously important here.
Maybe in a draft that doesn't matter, but sorry.
Yeah, but we'll see about that.
It's beyond this year, too, obviously.
There's a couple interesting prospects in this draft, and they're right in the sweet spot of being in a position to get them if things can fall their way.
That's
also,
fair.
Golden State, yes, they won last night against Washington. Paul's back. Maybe they stay in the play-in, but they're right on that line, and we have their pick. What I'm more interested in is this is part of rebuilding that people I don't think talk enough about. It's okay to say, look, this run didn't work. We're going to restart. Okay. I may disagree with the take. I think Dame could still do it with certain pieces. That's fine to be, okay, we're moving on. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of people talk themselves into, all right, now we're rebuilding. Now we're going to go get the pieces at the right places at the right time, the right timeline. And you can say, yeah, that's well and good. And you look at some pieces, you go, well, that's a little different. Oh, I kind of like that piece. But largely your takeaway this year is that this was an awful season that was lost. What have you accomplished? I think is a very fair thing to be saying out loud. And I said it a couple weeks ago, Jabari might be the brightest spot. Yeah. That is even cratered a little bit in the last couple weeks. And Jabari might be dealing with nagging injuries. This is the part of the rebuild that's tough. You do need to evaluate talent right. You do need to draft the right players at the right positions. But you can also go through moments where you lose an entire season and you have no takeaway. There's not an opinion on Shaedon Sharpe after this year. There's just not.
No, you can't have one.
And that's what sucks is you have lost seasons in that way. And so what are you going to do next year? You're probably going to be terrible. If we're being honest, you want to be terrible next year. If you're going to be terrible for this draft, you're probably going to want to be terrible for next year's because it's a little deeper. And, oh, by the way, we want to capture the flag. We want Cooper flag in Portland. So does everybody else that's bad. And that's the thing that sucks about rebuilding and how you kind of get stuck in it, right? It's always been the thing I've added. When Danny says on our pod or his show, you don't want to be the process Sixers. I agree with that. Mm-hmm. You also can be the Kings. And I think the tough thing about rebuilding is You think you're rebuilding, and it's going to be rebuilt in 3 or 4 years. And I keep hearing, I heard it yesterday from Will, OKC. All right. How's that worked out for Charlotte? How's that worked out
they
for
hit the
Detroit?
Lottery in OKC.
Well, yeah, they got a player that was good and took a ginormous step to first-team All-NBA in a trade against a very leveraged, desperate team that had to win now.
Yeah.
And so they were willing to give a piece that maybe they shouldn't have. Are we going to do that? What is the piece on this team that makes a team give us their SGA?
There is none. See, at this point, the Blazers, we knew that they were going to have a rebuilding season, but this has almost turned into like an extended version of the preseason. You just don't know where they're going. They acquired certain players, and then, they signed Jeremy Grant before they traded Dame, but then decided, no, we're going to keep him because the market's not really looking like we're going to get a good return for him. So you just wonder where the Blazers are. They're essentially in limbo. They haven't developed a lot of talent besides Jabari Walker. Shaedon Sharpe hasn't been on the court enough. Chris Murray looks like a total bust so far. Everybody thought he was going to be his twin brother Keegan, but he doesn't have the offensive skill set so far, at least in the NBA. Went 0 for 5 from 3 last night. He's like averaging 2 a game. So you wonder where are the bright spots? Beyond Jabari, you just don't know. And where are the Blazers going this season? Nowhere. It's literally a season in limbo and a full version of the preseason with these players that they thought they were going to bring in for a certain reason that ended up turning into something else. Now we're sitting here still with Brogdon and Grant on our roster. As a Blazers fan, you're wondering, all right, are we better right now? No. So where are we going? And I asked the same question. Where are we going? What are we doing, Joe? This isn't a rebuilding season. This is a preseason season.
Well, they go into next year, and the argument between the fan base in some ways is like, what year is this of rebuild? And someone says, year 1, Dame's gone. Okay, year 3 of losing, though. And season ticket renewals around the corner. And it's just going to get ugly, and it's not going to get better. And are you going to entice those people who just signed up thinking you were building around Dame because you told us you were putting the chips in the middle? You going to entice those people to renew? Because they're going to want a discount. And if you're not going to offer the discount, I'd imagine they're going to lose some people to that. It's a tough spot, and it's not that they can't get out of it. It's hard to see it now. We are in the middle of what is that old saying? It's hard to see the forest through the trees, right? You're in it. It's hard to see it. You're in it right now. Whether they get back there in 2 years or 3 years, I don't know. But they sucked this year. This is the 3rd year of not being good. They're not going to be good next year. That's going to be year 4. Even if you get a Cooper Flag, and I hope that they do, you'll be optimistic at that point, but that they will be bad that season, his rookie year. That will be year 5. You will be at you'll be at the halfway point of a decade of people's lives keep telling us, no, we're figuring it out. We're building it. It's going to go the right way. And eventually it just kind of falls on deaf ears. There's been some moments and times this year that have felt optimistic and felt great. But for the most part, it's unfortunate because injuries have derailed a lot of this.
It's true.
But that, again, that's the difficulty of rebuilding. You draft these young players, you get these guys, and they don't stay healthy. You can't evaluate it. And then you have to think, well, what if he's not this next year? Then how do I feel about him? Like, what if Shaedon is kind of what he was this year, next year, stats-wise?
That's not good.
Well, I think they're going to have to do where are we going with Shaedon? Scoot and Ant, they still haven't made a decision on that, even though I think they're going to choose Scoot. But okay, Scoot can't shoot very well. There's so many elements of it, and it's easy to say, yeah, we need to rebuild. Winning with Dame was done. It wasn't going to happen. All right, cool. Not every team rebuilds and rebuilds successfully, and that's kind of the point why rebuilding in Portland can be very, very difficult, and just sitting where they're at right now, it's tough because injuries are derailing a lot of this, but that's the gamble when you rebuild. You're already bad with the guys. Now they've gotten injured.
Get ready for that Blazers 2028 playoff run, baby. Woo!
2028. That's
so far.
That sounds. My daughter will almost be done with high school at that point.
I could easily be a grandpa by then.
I'll probably have a kid by then. Yeah, I'll be a dad.
You're going to be a grandpa in 4 years.
Yeah, could. He'll be 27.
Hey,
and he's right in there on that age, isn't it? Yeah. Damn, God, Lee, that makes me feel old because I met him when he was just like a little youngster in high school. I don't know, man. I'm still watching every night. I'm still trying to personally see how I feel about this stuff, and sometimes it's day to day. But I think it's okay to highlight how dangerous and risky this stuff can also be. You want it to end well. It doesn't always end well, and that's the part of the rebuild that's difficult.